Following on from our overview of the oil market last week, which if you haven't seen, we'll link the video up here. This week will be an important one, particularly from the supply side. So up first, there's a pretty big event going on known as CERAWeek this week. It's such a big deal, in fact, that it's even been dubbed the Super Bowl of energy. And yes, if you haven't guessed, the whole event is focused on the energy industry. So it's scheduled to last the full week from Monday to Friday, and it will host a number of different speakers ranging from government officials, so it includes prime ministers, US senators and representatives from energy departments, all the way to industry leaders such as Saudi Aramco and BP. So the event's a pretty big deal, and we do expect a number of different market moving headlines to come from the event, but the main topics that we're focused on at the moment are more sort of the macro perspective. So for example, there are some sessions that are covering things like whether low investment will harm future supply to be able to meet demand and prospects for oil beyond 2021. So these are a bit longer term than the opportunities that we were discussing in last week's video, but still worth keeping in mind because they may create some ripples in the price movements if something unexpected happens, but most of the industry specific stuff is probably not so relevant for us looking at how the oil price is going to be moving right now. So the next potentially more impactful thing that could disrupt oil prices, at least in the short term, is the OPEC Plus meeting that's due to take place this Thursday. We've been anticipating this meeting for a few weeks now as the price of oil has pushed its way up and returned to those 2019 highs. And this is due to a tightening between the supply and demand balance, which means that we may start to see members loosening up on those production cuts in the near future. The thing is though, these cuts in production are purely artificial, which means there's plenty of spare capacity for OPEC Plus members to flood the market if they want to. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what's going to happen, but it is of course a risk, and it wouldn't be the first time. Saudi Arabia has already warned against opening the taps too much since the pandemic is still ongoing. But if we're being realistic, there's a very slim chance that members will want to increase production cuts or commit to extending them as they are for too long, as the price of oil is already on the up and that supply and demand balance is tightening. So what should we watch out for? Well, one of the main things is going to be their forward guidance on increasing production or removing the production cuts, looking at how many barrels per day production will be increased by over the course of the next few months, and also when Saudi Arabia will resume with the extra 1 million barrels that they voluntarily cut. Back in the US, a recent Bloomberg report showed that although major oil companies may be winding down operations, that gap is actually being filled by relatively unknown private players. And some companies that are relatively unknown are actually running more wells in the Permian Basin than some of the bigger players. And oil production in the US still remains 3 million barrels per day below where it was a year ago, but rapid expansion from those private operators and discrepancies in their production data could lead to higher supply levels relatively quickly. High prices are also beginning to weigh on the demand side, namely in China, which is now expected to slow imports of oil in Q2. So there are still risks to the price of oil, and it's gotten a bit more shaky over the past few days, failing to break those 2019 highs at $64 a barrel, as we mentioned in that last video. And actually I picked up a pretty nice trade there at the end of last week on Friday. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you been trading oil? Have you picked out any trades? Give me all the deets. You know I like to hear from you guys. And please do hit that thumbs up button if you want more updates on oil. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.